Sink a whole kingdom under that sea of black smoke and the things it hides. Down where dead things don't stay dead. That's the shadow deep. Putrid. Rancid. Nothing grows. Nothing natural anyway. I was with the first troop. The first rangers that went down in that pit that used to be a kingdom. And what we found, well, some of us made it back. How do we fight something the size of a kingdom that's eating the world? If you're going in there, you best say your incantations. You best light your candles. You best put those marks of protection all over your body. Any symbol you think will give you a fighting chance. 'Cause you're gonna need it. Down there in the shadow deep, where there's always something waiting for you in the dark.
Greetings, good humans, and welcome to Tabletop Alchemy, where sometimes we have to write one specific line, and it proves to be quite the creative challenge. And we thank our patrons for all their support. Thank you, guys. Okay, so today is more movie development type stuff, and I'm gonna do my best to get over my internals... to get over my own internal insecurities about sharing half-baked stuff. I mean, I guess everything is half-baked until it's full-baked, right? And, you know, it's just part of the process. And I swore that I would share the process, and so here we go. So, that silly voiceover thing at the beginning, that's just me introducing you to my morning voice. It's just something for us. It's not for mainstream release or anything. It's an example of trying stuff out for fun. So, you know, I'm planning to do this little announcement teaser for the official website and for the pitch package, and I've got a super cheesy storyboard kind of thing for the team that I'm going to show you in a bit. But my buddy Beamel was saying he thought the teaser should have this voiceover by some old veteran warning about the Shadow Deep. And we joked around about what if we could get one of my favorite actors, Michael Wincott.
It's gonna be all right, Angel. We don't deserve the impossible.
To do the voiceover, which we're not going to get. But, you know, this was all just, you know, I don't know. I don't want to do a voiceover like this for this particular teaser thing. But, you know, people give you ideas and thoughts come up. And I thought, well, I don't know. Let's just mock it up and see what it's like. I mean, I have a microphone sitting right here in front of me at the computer. So, I don't know. Let's just play around. And that's what I did one morning. So I didn't script it or anything. I was literally just, you know, I mean, I'm sure you can tell it's not like I didn't spend any time writing that. I literally just turned on the mic and started growling into the microphone and saying stuff. And admittedly, I was trying to channel that awesome Wincott voice a little bit. But, you know, it's just really another exercise in playing with tone. And this is all the truly fun experimental stage. Everything I'm doing is working towards drilling down on establishing direction and what works and what inspires more ideas. The nitty-gritty phase where I gotta start locking stuff down is rapidly approaching. As an example, the tone in that little voiceover experiment is probably a tad too much in the horror vein. It's making me realize that I keep using that frivolous tagline I just stuck onto that original teaser test, which that tagline was, "There's something in the dark." That may not be deliverable in the final movie. I mean, I can't like shoot the whole movie at night, and so I'm not sure just how physically dark lighting wise we can get. I mean, that's a very budget dependent sort of question, because it's tough to shoot things at night, especially when you're in the woods at night or any sort of wilderness area. It's lighting consideration is a large practical logistical exercise. Versus if you're shooting like in a city or something, or, in a house, like where you can have electric lights and that's all fine. Anyway, after I'd recorded myself growling into the microphone, I wanted to send it to Beamel for fun, and I was going to send it as an audio track, but then I was like, well, maybe I should put in some random visuals just to like give him something to look at while it's playing. So that's how that little opening video came to be. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about this announcement teaser thing as a little micro project, because it serves a number of purposes for the larger film because it's a fractal of the larger project. I may not be using that term fractal right, but hopefully you understand my meaning. And saying the word meaning we get to use this little project as a test bed for a few things that we'll need to explore much further in the full production. Number one, we're going to be able to test some wardrobe. Number two, we're going to test an initial look with color correction and whatnot out of the camera. Number three, we're going to test some makeup and visual character design stuff. And number four, we're going to be able to test some lighting. And number five, we get to test some marketing stuff when it's done. So let me show you this new animatic storyboard thing I made for the team, and then we'll get into some of the nitty-gritty of what we're dealing with from a production standpoint. Now, this is garbage to look at. It's the equivalent of a stick figure sketch. And because of that, I wrote all the shot descriptions out in title cards at the beginning to describe what to imagine when you see the following mocked up visuals. You'll understand. Okay, so now we have an idea, hopefully, of what we're trying to put together. And the big wide shot with the two Rangers is the biggest pain in the ass production-wise. It's why we're location scouting to find something with the right dramatic look. All the other shots can be done really pretty easily. They are much tighter shots and realistically could literally be shot in someone's backyard. I mean, it's really that wide shot that's killing me. But let's unpack two particular items to see how something that appears to be very simple to do on the surface is actually deceptively complex. Let's look at this final shot, which is a tight push-in on our female ranger, who turns to look back over her shoulder in surprise, fear, and finally resolve. So now we're talking about a close-up that's going to show a lot of detail. So her wardrobe, specifically that hood, has to look cool. It's got to look worn and kind of ragged. It's got to be dirty and have texture and all that good stuff. And then, equally important or more important, her face has got to look right. Now this shot here from Midjourney is something I generated while looking for face tattoo inspiration. Now here's some of the reference images I sent our makeup artist. Now I definitely like this heavy blacked out eyes look. I mean, I'm a sucker for anything gothic, come on. But also I want a tattoo or markings coming out of that black eye makeup. And this is super cool too. We got a full face transfer just for Jared, the other actor in the piece. So Then the makeup artist sent me some links to these temporary tattoo transfers, and I went into Photoshop to try to mock up some looks by using pieces of the transfers, because we can cut them up. I mean, they're like decals, right? And to give the makeup artist an idea of what I like aesthetically, I wanted to put the pieces I thought would work kind of oriented on an actual face so we could see how they line up. And of course, you have to imagine, you know, these mock-ups all with the heavy black makeup in addition to the tattoos. And these tattoos are blue, but we can color over them and make them dark gray or black as well. I also asked the makeup artist about being able to just hand draw some symbols on the actor's face as well. And of course, we're going to splatter, you know, some blood on her and grime and all that good stuff. But the idea of drawing symbols on her face is kind of like, it's an example of how we stack layers of coolness, right? Like layers of inspiration project, compile and multiply. So the idea of the face tattoos is what inspired the line in that voiceover video about protective markings and saying your incantations and symbols of power. Now, one of my favorite Clive Barker stories is The Last Illusion. And one of my favorite little details in that story is how the protagonist, Harry Damour, he's got all these widely varied holy symbols from a wide range of religions tattooed on himself. And when he's asked about them, or maybe it's done in internal thought, I forget how it comes about, but the detail comes out that he's basically thinking that something to the effect of, well, you never know which one of these is going to protect me at any given time. Ever since I read that, I've always loved the idea of protective tattoos from a magical realism sort of perspective. In our movie's case, marking yourself up with symbols of protection might be like modern soldiers painting on camouflage, right? Or something like that, maybe. And so the next practical thing we have to do for the teaser is a full makeup test with the actress and the makeup artist. I'd like to have the cloak or at least a hood on that day too, so we can see what it all looks like together. But the reason for this is so we can create the look ahead of time. So when we are out in the woods burning daylight on location, everyone knows what they're doing. We can't show up on set on the day and try to figure out artistically what we're going to do for face tattoos. That would be ludicrous. So you can see like how, like this one shot, we want to do this one shot and how you're like, yeah, it's just a close-up of an actor in a hood turning around looking at camera. Okay. But then, you know, we get all these other steps have to be done to create that final shot. And it's like a lot of work. It's just a lot more work than you would think initially just looking at stuff on the surface, which I do that all the time and underestimate things and how they're going to come together and what it's going to take to produce them. All projects have that sort of aspect to them where it's like, yeah, I want to get to this. This is the goal. I want this thing to be done. Okay, that sounds easy, but wait, when we deconstruct how we get there, we're like, oh, there's a lot of steps in the process. Now, I also mentioned at the top needing to come up with a line, a very specific line. So what that's referring to is I need a sound right here, somewhere right in here, that cues our ranger to turn and look over her shoulder. Now, initially, I was just thinking there would be some kind of monster sound, you know, like a T-Rex growl or some kind of fabricated monster sound. But unfamiliar sounds are kind of hard to parse out as a viewer if you don't see the source of the sound at some point. And I don't want to see what's behind them. That's the mystery. That's the cliffhanger thing, right? So I was wrestling with this notion of what are we going to hear? And I realized something that I think will be cool if I can hit on the right line of dialogue, a voice saying something sinister that causes that cascade of emotions in our ranger. So basically, I'm treating this teaser almost as unrelated to the movie. Now, that probably sounds dumb, but what I mean is our characters that are here in the teaser are not necessarily characters from the movie. The location is probably not where we're going to be shooting the movie, but the feel and the look and the tone, those are indicative of the movie. So when I was hit with the idea of a dialogue line, I was like, oh, maybe what they hear behind them is our villain. Now, our villain is the corrupted druid, Beldeath, right? So I thought, okay, we could have these whispers that start earlier in the teaser, kind of like growing out of like maybe some swirling leaves sounds or a breeze or something, and the whispers kind of grow out of that, and they do that sort of horror movie whisper thing. And the swirling whispers start out almost imperceptible, but they ramp up into this one coherent, sinister line from our off-screen druid. And it freaks the ranger out. Hopefully it freaks the ranger and us, the audience, out at the same time. But I got to come up with whatever that line is. It's got to work right. It's got to be freaky, and it probably has to be kind of a specific length to work timing-wise in the edit, so that, putting the edit together is like kind of cutting. I mean, you're kind of cutting a music video in a way, or I don't know how to put it, but there's a rhythm in the project. There's a rhythm to a visual project. This isn't just an interview where we're just like cutting someone talking, right? We have this arrangement of images and then creepy music. And then now if I'm introducing this dialogue that ramps up and hits at a moment, it's like kind of visually composing a music piece or something. I don't really know how to explain it better than that, but there's a lot of like timing has to go into this, and things have to time out correctly, and so that they cut well together and flow right, and things hit at the right moment. But I'm feeling like this is the way it's supposed to work. I really like the idea of tying the teaser to the bigger movie project with the introduction of our villain, which is just by voice. So there's going to be a solution. There is a solution to this line of dialogue. I just have to uncover it. So here's where we are currently with this announcement teaser as far as production goes. 1, I need to finish collecting wardrobe. 2, we got to do our makeup test day. 3, we got to do a camera test with the smoke grenades and maybe a fog machine. 4, we got to find the location. And 5, we got to schedule it. So, of course, we've got all of the main movie development stuff going on in the background as well. Right now, that's mostly focused on story development, character development. But, we'll get into that in an upcoming video. And of course, there's day job stuff, and then there's YouTube videos to produce. There's just all kinds of things that are going on constantly. And we have a heat wave. I actually was not going to do this in a long sleeve shirt today because it is warm, even out here by the beach. All right, well, go take a deep breath. Let all the crazy vibrations subside for the moment. Relax your shoulders. Try to center yourself. And then, go to work. See ya.